Hi, I'm Stunning Stella Cheeks.
And I'm the Enigma Erin Klein.
And this is
Not Your Demographic.
We used to be a feminist wrestling podcast.
Shockingly, we'd rather talk about literally anything else now.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm once again in a weird cave. This time it's the blanket cave.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if it qualifies as a cave so much as a blanket fort supported by the beam of your head.
Yes, that's true. I have my mic inside of a box inside of this, so, I'm like really working, after like 7 years of doing this podcast.
Yeah.
To figure out my audio.
TBD what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's true. I'm in my husband's weird echoey office, so I'm really trying my best here.
No, it's a valiant effort. Trust me, everyone.
Yeah.
She's making a hardcore effort.
I'm trying really hard. How are you?
I'm okay. I am recovering from my booster shot, so I'm mostly doing that. That's mostly what I've been doing. I had a very low-key week with work and stuff, so I've been very extremely lazy, and I've just indulged in it this week. I was like, you know what? This shit I could be doing, but also, I'm going to give myself the space to be lazy and not be stressed about being lazy, which is very hard for me to do. There's definitely periods where I am lazy, but I'm in this, anxiety cycle of, I should be productive, I should be doing this, and so it's not even really relaxing. And this week, there were definitely times when I was like that, but I was like, it's the end of the year. I don't have a lot of work. Yes, there's things I could be doing, but also, I had some pretty invasive medical stuff to do this week, and I was like, I'm just going to relax, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. Which is just my way of justifying me watching 2.5 seasons of a season and a half of Supernatural in a week. So
insane.
That's my justification of that. Look, I'm a feast or famine gal. It's all or nothing.
That's true. I have been enjoying your tweet-alongs.
Oh yeah, I like that you follow the tweet-alongs with me and Joe. And you've only seen 5 episodes. I think this is the right way for you to consume Supernatural.
Oh, I'm now fully convinced this is the best way for me to consume it. I also got to the point where I was reading through the one where Hitler's a teenage girl. I was like, okay, no. I definitely
Hitler almost became a teenage girl, but then they just stole her blood. You know what? Dean got to kill Hitler and it was a big moment for him.
Listen, that was the moment where I was like, I literally cannot even attempt to watch this show until I can do drugs again. There's just no way. There's no way I can sit through this sober. Absolutely the fuck not. It's just never going to happen. And so the tweet-alongs have been helping.
I really want a day where you're like, okay, I'm going to get rip-roaring fucked up, and I'm going to choose the, weirdest episodes. I just want to watch Supernatural with you while you're very high. And I guess I'll just get drunk because I don't get high. And we'll just have a really insane day.
Fantastic. I'm into it.
So yeah, that's mostly, I've been allowing myself to trying to allow myself to actually relax. And it's a work in progress, but it is helpful to get a vaccine that kicks your ass and be like, what do you want me to do? I can't do anything. I don't feel good.
Yeah. I'm forced to relax because I cannot get up and move my body.
Exactly.
Yeah, been there.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I went back to Michigan this last weekend for my first of 2 baby showers and did all of my family Christmases back in Michigan with my mom's family and my dad's family, which was exhausting, but
nice.
Yes, it was really nice. It was really great to see all of my sisters. It was really great to see my nieces. It was nice to see my dad's extended family for the most part. One of my cousin's kids has the most horrifying cough I've ever heard in my life, and it got to he was at the baby shower but had a mask on because my mom required everyone to wear masks at her house, which was really nice and was a comfort for sure. But then the next day at my dad's family Christmas, we were all unmasked, and so this kid is just running around coughing on everybody.
Oh, no.
And both of his parents were like, he's had his shots, he's vaccinated, we've tested him several times. We took him to the doctor. It's an allergy thing. It just sounds horrifying, which was nice to be affirmed about that. But at the same time, at one point, Michael texted me and he was like, listen, I don't want to be the Grinch and I don't want to be like a party pooper, but we need to get the fuck out of here as soon as possible. I was like, I get it. It was because it was like, I'm there, I'm super pregnant, my sister is there, she's dealing with a health crisis, my grandma's like in her 90s, like there was just this atmosphere of like, was it appropriate to bring this maybe very sick child to this event? I don't know that it was, but at the same time, like if he hadn't come, like that whole family wouldn't have come. So it was a
tricky situation.
Exactly, yeah. But in general, it was really nice to see everybody. Only one person touched my stomach during the baby shower, which was nice.
How old were they?
A boomer, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, she rubbed my belly like you would rub, like, a Buddha statue. And I was just like, it happened very quickly. And I was like, okay, I can make a scene about this. Or I can just let this go. And I can just not deal with this right now and just move on from this, and like nobody else did it. So I was like, fine, fucking whatever. Like I was not happy about it, but I was just like willing in that moment to let it go. It was like, it doesn't matter, because I know if I say something, it's going to turn into a whole fucking deal, and like she was a blood relative, and so it's like, whatever, fuck it, just let it go. Like that's all I can do in this moment is just let this go. And so that's what I did. So I'm at that point.
Proud of you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I also like recognize I've been very lucky because of the pandemic that like no one has touched me basically during this whole pregnancy. So I was like, all right, if this is the price I have to pay, whatever. I will take one person over 9 months if that's where I'm at. So that was fine. My youngest sister works in a pharmacy, and she asked me, she was like, has anyone come up behind you and lifted your stomach? I was like, have they done fucking what? She was like, yeah, I see people do that to pregnant women like in the store sometimes. I was like, I would punch a fucker in the face. Like it. Like Michael is allowed to do that. Like he's my husband and we live in the same house, and like that's fine. That's like an intimate moment for us. If a stranger tried to do that to me, I would lose my mind. I would be so angry. I was like, no, thank fucking God no one has done that to me. Never do that to a person ever.
I just don't know what goes on in certain people's brains. Like, what?
I know. I had some like a pretty good friend of mine once surprised me in a grocery store. He came up behind me and wrapped his arms around me, and it scared the shit out of me because I didn't know he was there. And he like immediately let go, and he was like, oh my God, I just realized what I did to you. I'm so sorry. And I was like, never fucking do that again.
Yikes.
Like he was like, I just felt your whole body stiffen. I was like, you could have been anybody. Like, don't ever do that.
You could have been
like,
anybody.
And like, I've known him since he was like 9. And so it was like, okay, I understand why you felt comfortable doing this to me in public, but like literally never do this again.
You were wrong.
Yeah, like you made a mistake and you recognize your mistake. Literally never do this again. So I'm fine. You know, I'm in that. That's the space that I'm in. It's full holiday season. I'm, you know, in the space that full holiday season puts you in. Which is like half good, half like I'm so stressed out.
I tried to get into the holiday season. I was like, I'm gonna do my tree. I have to relight it. And then I ran out of lights. And now I have this like half lit tree and all these lights everywhere. And I'm just like, you know what? Fuck everything. We're having like a small holiday party with our like really close immediate friend group. And I was like, as long as it's nice before they come over, whatever. I went to 3 different stores to try and buy more lights, and they were all sold out. And of course I accidentally bought these like fucking twinkle lights, and I was like, I have to special order these now. And like, I don't know if you've ever had to restring a fake tree, but it's the fucking worst thing in the world.
Oh yeah, it
fucking sucks. I have like little micro cuts all over my hand, and then to run out of the lights halfway through, I was like, I want to kill something.
Yep. I also do a fake tree. I take the lights off every year and store them with the tree. And so then when I put them back up, I have to restring it every year.
Why do you take the lights off every year? I'm just doing this because the lights burnt out.
Because the box that we have that the tree comes in isn't big enough to just put it away. We actually have to like take the tree apart. I put all the lights out. Didn't put any ornaments on my tree this year. They're sitting in a box next to my tree, but I just haven't like... We have 2 cats, and like when we adopted them last year, we already had our tree up, and so they were pretty well behaved with it. But this year they're like, what's this new thing? Yeah. And so they keep trying to climb the middle of the tree, and I'm like, I don't want all these ornaments to break. And so I think I might just wind up putting all the soft ones up, but I just have been lazy about taking them out of the box and actually putting them up. And like the tree looks nice with just lights, so I was like, fuck it, whatever. This is fine.
Hermia keeps like licking the tree and it's really stressed me out. I'm like, you gotta stop, man. Speaking of Hermia, I don't know if you can hear her, but she's sitting outside just screaming, and I'm not getting up to let her in. So if you just hear a like really pathetic like little meow, that does actually sound like a scream, that's her.
Yep. I'm so used to it, I just tune it out completely now.
When I tell people my cat's meow sounds like a scream, they're like, what? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It just sounds like a scream.
Yeah, she legit sounds like she's screaming.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
What have you been reading? Have you had time to read in your busy pregnancy schedule?
I have been I've been listening to a ton of audiobooks. We were talking about this before we started recording. I canceled my subscription to Audible like 3 years ago because I had so many fucking books that I hadn't listened to that was like my goal this year, was to really make my way through all the stuff that I had saved up. And once I'm like actually through it, then I'll resubscribe and start getting new stuff again. But I listened to 5 audiobooks since we talked last
Stella
time.
Cheeks way.
Yes, and then I also read 2 books, so I have 7 books to talk about. I know, it's weird, I got to the end of the year and was like, let's read everything.
I'm the exact opposite right now. I was telling you, like, I'm either like audiobooks and books, or my brain is like fic and podcasts. And my brain right now is fic and podcasts, and I technically need to read 9 more books to hit my 150 goal. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do it, man. Because I just want
150 is very ambitious also.
But like, I'm at 141. It would be very like trash if I did not hit 150. I'm at 141. I gotta do it. You
could get 145. No. That's still acceptable.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna finish Supernatural by January 3rd, which is when I started it, and I'm gonna get to 150 by the end of the year. There's nothing you can say that will prevent me from doing this. I
mean, I am in awe that you're even trying to do it still, so don't let me discourage you. Okay. All right, I'm just going to go through the audiobooks first. All right, so I finished My Friend Anna by Rachel DeLoache Willaims. Do you remember a couple of years ago the fake heiress con man story about, her name was like... Yes. Anna Sorkin, I think is her real name. Her fake heiress name was Anna Delvey. And I remember when that story broke on Vanity Fair, I fucking devoured it. I was like, this con man. Because part of what I like about that story is that Anna Delvey scammed a bunch of rich people. Yeah. And so it's like, all right, kind of good for you.
If you're going to be a scammer or you're going to be a thief, steal from rich people or corporations. Right. Do I feel bad when I steal from Target? No.
Yeah. And
which I don't do. I definitely don't steal from Target.
No, never. You would never, ever do that. Just like when you allegedly in your brain steal from Target. Yeah. It's fine.
If I were to be a thief, it would definitely be from a corporation and not from a mom and pop. If you steal from a mom and pop and you don't have like actual kleptomania, then you're a monster.
Yeah, if you don't have like actual poverty or actual kleptomania, then like don't do that.
Yeah.
that's a shitbag move to do something like that. But this woman who wrote this book, my friend Anna, Rachel DeLoache Willaims, who wrote the Vanity Fair article, like, she's a weird case because she, like, is an affluent woman but is not actually personally rich.
Right.
And she got conned out of, like, almost $70,000.
Yikes.
Which is insane. And it's all stuff that got charged to her credit card. And so it's, like, not actual money that she had. And this woman, like, convinced her to put all of this stuff on her credit card. So what happens is she promises her, like, I'm going on this like business trip to Morocco. I want you to come with me as like an all expenses paid thing with these people I'm paying to come with me, basically. And so she's like, all right, well, sure. Of course I want to do a free trip to Morocco. But then she like literally winds up paying for everything, all of the tickets. She winds up getting conned into paying for the hotel bill, and then the rest, like, that's like the first third of the book, and then the rest of the book is about the resolution and the trial because she got arrested for like grand theft.
We all know what happened, so it's obviously
right. Yeah, exactly. And so it was interesting because I'm like, on one hand, I don't feel bad for her, like, even a little bit, because even from her own telling, I was like, this woman's a con man. Like, how did you not realize, like, basically immediately that she was a con man? Like, their first interaction when they go out to dinner, her debit card doesn't work and this girl winds up paying for the dinner. And it's like, that would have been my first runaway.
She justify? Is she like, oh,
well, she wound
international travel or whatever?
Yeah, that's basically what Anna said. She was like, well, my bank is in Germany, and my parents give me an allowance, and so I spend my money too quickly, and so then they, like, cut off my debit card, basically. And then she would pay for things, but it's because she would put it on credit cards, and then what she actually got indicted for was check kiting, where you write a check, you open two bank accounts, and you write a check from an empty bank account, and you deposit it into the other bank account, and you withdraw the money before they can realize that there's no money to back the check, which is illegal. You are not supposed to do that.
That is theft.
That's grand theft larceny, basically. And so that's what she did. And so she had all of this physical money that she got illegally, and so she would pay for a bunch of stuff after this. And so this woman, Rachel, was like, well, she must be an heiress who just has, like, problems with her parents paying her allowance or whatever.
A very relatable thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was weird. It was like, I feel bad for you that this happened to you because it sucks to be a person who's been scammed, and, like, con artists are kind of pieces of shit in lots of ways. But also, like, you're really suffering from, like, dumbest human alive syndrome here, where, like, you maybe should have just not. You should have, like, run away from this woman. So it was interesting, and it's read by the author too, which I thought was, like, I liked that. I liked that piece of it. And it was pretty short too. So I would say it was definitely worth listening to, especially if you're, like, into con men stories. It was the thing that I found the most interesting about it was her description of how she interacted with the DA and how they like used her to arrest Anna, basically, which is, like, dangerous. It was super dangerous to be the person who's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll be the one who, like, tricks this woman into getting arrested.
But
like,
she was so pissed that she was like, we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I've been fighting with my credit cards for months because this woman keeps telling me that she's going to repay me and she just never does. And she was like, I'm just so angry that I'll do anything to get this debt cleared from my name, basically. So it was good. I think I would recommend it. I listened to a play called Girls and Boys by Dennis Kelly, which was narrated by Casey Mulligan, I think.
Oh, the actress?
Yes, yeah.
She's quite good.
Yeah, it was. I downloaded this years ago. It is a play that was performed like in theaters, but it was written to be, like, recorded on Audible also as, like, a one-woman play. It's really good. It is very dark. Super fucking dark. It's billed as a story about literally, it was like, it's a one-woman story about a woman talking about the disillusion of her marriage and how it impacts her children. It's actually, big spoiler alert, about family annihilation and about how her kids get murdered by her husband. And so I get halfway through this play and she's like, I know that I'm talking to my kids. I know they're not here. I know they're dead. And then it's just, like, from there on about family annihilation. And I was like, oh, what? It was really fucked up. I was like, this is really good, and she's doing a really great performance, but also, what the fuck is this? So it was good, but it was also I really liked that the audiobook at the end had a really interesting talkback with the playwright. And so you get this, like, he explains why he wrote the play, and he was like, I wrote this before the Me Too movement happened, but then when it premiered, that stuff had already broken. And so it, like, took on this new context and what that was like now to have this, like, exist in this world where family annihilation has this, like, more understood context about why and how it happens,
right,
which I found really interesting. So I would recommend the audiobook. I thought it was very good. I listened to The Coming Storm by Michael Lewis. I love Michael Lewis. He's one of my favorite, like, weird statistical journalist authors. Like,
I don't know who this person is.
He wrote The Big Short, and a bunch of other, like, that's the one that, like, everybody knows. But he's written a bunch of really good stuff. I've read a lot of the things that he's written. And this was it's really short. It's only available as an audiobook. And it's about, this is very on brand for me. It's about how and why we predict the weather and, like, the way that weather reporting has evolved, especially over, like, the last 15 years, and the way that private weather companies use taxpayer funded money to get their data, and then they try and make government available data not available, so that you basically have to like pay in order to use this thing that you're already paying for. It was fascinating, and the way that Michael Lewis talks about, like, listen, we predict the weather because it's devastating, like, but people don't take it seriously for the same reason, like, people don't trust the government, and they're like, well, why? They're wrong sometimes about some things, and so, like, why would I flee during a tornado? And there's a really interesting part at the end where he talks about a woman who, she, like, her house and her barn were both destroyed in this, like, devastating tornado event, and when he was with the data worker who was, like, going around trying to understand how and why people did and didn't flee from the tornado, she was like, you know, I used to pray that my barn would get destroyed by a tornado because I know I live in Tornado Alley or whatever. I just never thought it would also hit my house. And the data worker was like, all right, cool. And Michael Lewis is like, wait, what do you mean?
Yeah.
First of all, why would you pray for this? And also, like, how did you not think that this was going to happen? And she had this really interesting explanation where she was like, well, I used to pull out of my driveway every single day and look at this barn. And every day I have to look out my window at this barn and remember that that's where my husband killed himself. And so in her brain, she was like, oh, well, I'll just wish away that this, like, really painful piece of me is just gone. But then it just never connected, like, if a tornado touches down close enough to a barn I can see from my window, it's probably going to destroy my house too. And so it was this very interesting, like, long form essay almost. It was kind of like a novella. And I just found it fascinating. And he did a bunch of, like, deep dives on the people who work at NOAA, which is the agency that collects that data. And, like, the Bureau of Consumer Information through the United States, like, it's basically science data. It's, like, one of the most mislabeled pieces of the government. And they collect so much fucking data, and we just have no idea what they do with it. Because it's all stuff that people are like, this isn't important. And it's like, no, this is pretty important. Yeah, like, we should really be tracking how and why this shit happens and why people respond in the way that they do. And, like, one of the women who ran that bureau was one of the first women astronauts. She was, like, in the same class as Sally Ride. And so it was really interesting to hear her story about, like, yeah, I was an astronaut. I went to space. I did a couple spacewalks. And then I was like, I want something else to, like, focus on. And so she started working with, like, the Weather Bureau. It's fascinating. So I would definitely recommend that. I listened to Feeding the Dragon, The True Story of the Little Girl Who Lived in the Library by Sharon Washington. It's another one-woman play, literally about a girl whose family lived above a library, like fucking Micheal in It. Like,
in the reboot.
In the reboot, yes. It was interesting. It took me a really long time to get used to her performance style. I think it would have... Because this was clearly a play that is performed on stage that was recorded.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's just a difference between the way that you speak when you're also trying to, like, animate your body. And so it just took me a while to get used to that narration style. But the story itself is very interesting because the idea is that she lives in this library. Her dad is the, like, caretaker of the library. And it's a coal furnace run library. And so he has to, like, feed this. She said it looked like a dragon when she was a kid, and so the idea is that he has to continue feeding this, like, coal furnace all the time. And then halfway through, you discover her dad is an alcoholic, and the story turns into how this impacts the way that her family exists and what it's like to have a father who has, like, a very physically demanding job that you wouldn't think would be physically demanding, that then, like, devolves back into alcohol addiction. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it. I think you could listen to it as an audiobook or read the script and it would be equally enjoyable.
Okay. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it was really good. I just downloaded it because it was, like, an Audible original that was included with my membership 3 years ago. And when I listened to it, I was like, oh, this is actually surprisingly good. So I really enjoyed that. And then today I finished listening to A Mind of Her Own by Paula McLain, which is about Marie Curie, who becomes Marie Curie. But before she's Marie Curie, when she's studying in Paris and she meets Pierre Curie. And it's literally about her deciding to fall in love with him. Like, the story ends when they decide to be together. And so I really liked that because you get this, it's historical fiction, which I don't normally enjoy, but I really liked this look into, like, I'm alone as a woman in science. Everyone feels like they're against me. how do I learn to accept help? And how do I learn how to have friends, basically?
Yeah.
And then I've decided I want to be this man's friend because he takes me seriously. And then he keeps saying, like, but you understand and respect my work and no one else does. And it's not just that I'm attracted to you. It's that I want to work with you as a partner in science, and like allowing herself to accept that. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I thought the narrator did a really good job as well.
Their like non-traditional love story is actually like so beautiful. And it's because I feel like a lot of people think of Marie Curie like I think when you think of Marie Curie, you think of like radiation stuff, and you also think about like this horrific way that she died, and you're like, oh, she's one of like the big top name women in science that we know and historically, and she's like very important that way. And I feel like people who only know her from like, you know, pop culture or like just a thing that we read in science class, like really focus on she was really important, she died this horrific death, let's move on. But she had such a fucking fascinating life, and her relationship with her husband is like truly like even like kind of relationship goals now, because they did have this like really like hardcore mutual respect and the way that they work together. But then the people that she chose to be really good friends with, like I told you this, but I saw you read that and I recommended an Audible. There's this, I think it's only an Audible thing. It's an Audible original. It's called The Half-Life of Marie Curie, and it's like a 2-woman play. It's Kate Mulgrew and then Francesca Faraday. I don't know who that is, but I listened to it because I was like, oh, I love Kate Mulgrew, whatever, I'll listen to it. And it's this really interesting 2-woman play where it's Marie Curie, like it's kind of like at the end of her life where she's like, yeah, I'm fucked up, man. Like this is what I've done to my body, but so it's her kind of like reflecting, but it's her and her friendship with Hertha Eriton, who is this like hardcore, like capital S suffragette who was very intense. She was a mathematician and an inventor, and that's how they knew each other. But she was just like one of the most like hardcore bad bitches out there. And like it's just a conversation between them and their friendship, but also how it is to be a woman who is known for being an intellectual, and how you have to like choose your battles, and like how they chose different battles, but they still had like children and traditional like quote unquote women's things and having it all. And it's super fascinating. I think Marie Curie is one of like the most fascinating women in fucking history, man. She was so cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was really glad that I listened to it. It was really fucking good.
Yeah, I definitely want to listen to that one.
Yeah, I think you'll really like it. And then yesterday I finished reading the 2 books that I actually read, physical books. I finished reading Sexuality, a graphic guide, which I've been reading a bunch of these graphic guides this year. Sexuality is by Meg-John Barker and Jules Scheele, who also wrote the Queer Theory and the gender one that I really liked, both of those this year. I think the Sexuality one I would put in between those ones. I think it wasn't quite as good as the queer one, but I think it might have even been better than their gender one. It was fascinating. They took the concepts of sex, sexuality, the like wider cultural view around sexuality and how it both is influenced by individuals and influences individuals. And then also they had a huge chapter on consent and the way that like so much of our lives is we interact non-consensually about like basically fucking everything, and the way that like if we started trying to interact consensually in other parts of our lives, it would make it so much easier to do it once you're like in a sexual situation, and vice versa. And I just thought that was fascinating, and I thought they did a really good job with it. And Jules Scheele's illustrations are fucking great. Also, you would really like, one of the like reoccurring themes was they talked about it, and about like it as a like theme for intergenerational trauma, and how it like also can represent like different pieces of intergenerational trauma. And part of that is like non-consent and the way that people like do not actually use consent for a lot of things. I was like fascinated by it. And so they kept using this illustration of the Pennywise from the reboot movies in like inside of other pieces of the comic, and I was like, what the fuck is this? But I really enjoyed it. So if you read any of the graphic guide series, queer, sexuality, and gender are the 3 that I recommend the most highly. They were all very good, and this was like a really good cap to that. And then the last book that I read, honestly, I think one of the best books that I read the whole year. So fucking good. The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I was like pissed how good it was.
You keep saying that.
because it was on everybody's list. His second book came out this year and literally sold out immediately. Like, you could not find his second book anywhere because it sold out in stores. The pre-orders were so sold out that like people got backlogged on it. It's so good. And so like when the second book sold out like immediately, I was just like, whatever, jerk off motion. It was like reading Such a Fun Age where everybody said it was good and I was like pissed that I waited so long to read it because I was like, it can't possibly be as good as everyone says. And it fucking was, and I was like angry about it. It was so good. So Thursday Murder Club, it came out I think a year and a half ago. It's literally about a group of retirees who live in like a super bougie retirement community who solve murders together. And like, not for anything, like one of the original members of their group used to be a policewoman, and so she just has a bunch of old files, and so they would like go through old files and be like, who actually did this? Did this person really die in the way that we think that they did? And so it's just old people like being dicks, basically. And like, I know that this is incorrect, and one of the main characters, like, they never explain what her job was when she was younger, but she was clearly some kind of like spy or something like that because she has all these connections, and she also is like a huge douchebag. She'll like go up to people and be like, so you're going to tell me this stuff because you owe me a favor? And they're like, yes, we do owe you a favor. You're correct. We will not dispute this in any way. And so he did such, in a very Grady Hendrix-like way, did a great job of writing these like very complex, very different older women, and I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story. I thought the mysteries were really good. There were like three different mysteries that were like built on top of each other that all had interesting endings, and that you like got resolution for almost everything in the book by the end of it, but in ways that I wasn't expecting. Like, there's one character who, his name is Ian. He's like the owner of the retirement community, and he's the biggest piece of shit. Like, he did such a great job of establishing him as this like horrible piece of shit. And semi-spoiler, he dies at one point. And by the time he dies, you're so fucking glad that he's dead. It was just like this very good reading experience. And like, I think she did such a good job with the like two cop characters of making them like both seem like kind of bumbling idiots who were like finally convinced like, oh, these old people are way better at our jobs than we are. And like, I just thought it was just so good. I cannot recommend it highly enough. I know everybody said it was good, but like, it really fucking was. I'm sad that it took me so long to read it. I like, before I even finished it, I requested the sequel from the library because I knew I was going to enjoy the ending so much, and I was right. So I was like, I'm so excited for this other one to come in. I was going to buy it, but like, it is still hard to find. Like, I went into a couple of bookstores looking for them, and they're sold out like fucking everywhere. So I just cannot recommend Thursday Murder Club enough. So that's it. Those are the 7 books that I read.
I'm really excited.
What?
I literally, like, on my way home from doing a floral delivery today, I got a notification that was like, your library hold is ready to pick up, and it's the Thursday Murder Club. So maybe that will be part of the 9 that I have to finish.
Yay! I flew through it. I read it so fast too. It was like, part of it is that it's sort of like Burning Girls, where like the narrative style was very easy to read, even though like not in necessarily like a YA way, but kind of, you know what I mean? Where it's like,
easy to read doesn't mean like necessarily mean like easy book or simple book or whatever. Like, easy to read is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, there are a lot of very good YA books.
Yeah, totally. And that's like the feel that I got from this, where it was like, I just wanted to keep reading it. And like, the chapters are pretty short for the most part, which also makes it very digestible, where you're like, okay, I'll just read one more. I'll just read one more. I'll just read 8 more.
I'm excited.
So I'm very excited for you to read it. I think you're going to like it. All right. What have you been listening/reading?
So I finally, everybody's going to roll their eyes because I talked about this months ago. I finally finished X of Swords, which is X-Men big event. I'm very mixed on it, which is part of the reason it took me so long to read it. I really liked part of it. I liked the idea of it. I liked the idea of, you know, random mutants getting picked versus the random otherworld characters getting picked and being entered into this, like, competition for the worlds. And I thought that was really cool. And I thought the setup part was really cool. I liked who they picked. It made a lot of sense. and I also I like Doug Ramsey a lot, so I was excited that Cypher was there, and I liked how they dealt with Cypher's character a lot. I did really dig the Apocalypse backstory stuff with his wife. That was really interesting. I think that was the strongest part, even though the Apocalypse story in the Hickman reboots is messy. But where it lost me was the actual competition. The actual competition, there's this huge, it's like a 21 issue arc, I think, 21, 22. It's a big issue arc over all of the X books at the time, which is also confusing because you have to jump around and blah, blah, blah. But I'm reading all of them. I'm always reading all of the X books. Even if I'm behind, I'm always, the X books are the ones I don't cut because I love them. The X-Men are the best. Anyways, so it's long. It's really long. And they take half of it to do the setup, right? Which makes sense. They have to find the swords. They have to shove their swords into the magical circle. They have to have the parlay before the competition, whatever. They set up this intense tension and you're okay, here comes a battle. And then the battle is not really a battle, which I guess is a good swerve. Because you're everyone's Doug, you're totally gonna fucking die, dude. You can't fight. Your superpower is that you can speak any language. You can't fight. Though, sidebar, I would like to point out that in Necrosha X, he can read body language and he's a super badass. So I don't know if they just retconned that or they were technically he was a zombie then, kind of. So maybe that's just zombie Doug's powers, whatever. I thought that was kind of dumb. I was did we all forget when he could read body language? Which was stupid, admittedly, but it is technically canon. Whatever. He's a sweet baby boy, and I love him. Mostly because it's my favorite superpower. If I could have any superpower, I would want the power to read and speak any language ever. That's the coolest it's the coolest fucking power. You hear a little bit of cadence in your context, and you're got it, I can speak this. So it builds up it's gonna be a contest of champions. And it's just a bunch of weird trials. And some of them are cool. Some of them are fighting in the underworld and shit like that. But some of them were just silly. Here's a drinking competition and here's an ice skating competition and weird random shit. And I guess that works for Otherworld and the weirdness of Saturnine and Marauders shit. Not Marauders, Excalibur shit. But it was also we built this crazy tension, and I'm kind of fucking confused. What is the competition? Who's winning? I mean, technically there was a tally of who's winning, but it was also what the fuck is happening here? I did speaking of Doug Ramsey, I did that one of his challenges was to get married to somebody from the other side. And I did really think it was cool that he married somebody who he couldn't understand. It was everybody else could understand her language, but that was the one time he's never ever been able to understand. I thought that was really interesting. And I know I'm years behind, but I'm interested to see where that goes because I really liked how they stayed together at the end. Big ups to Doug. He deserves everything in the world. I love him. I do want more. I want to know what Warlock thinks of her. I'm excited. I hope that shows up a lot more and it's not just thrown to the side because I thought that was really interesting. But it was just really messy. It was this giant, huge crossover that was just so messy. It started off so good and then just was convoluted as shit. And then it just kind of fucking ended and it was hey, great, or the Captain Britain Corps are back, whatever, goodbye. I was
weird.
Okay, whatever. I guess that happens a lot with big crossovers where some of them are great. Not everything can be Inferno. I know Inferno, 2.0 or whatever is happening right now. I gotta get there. Give me some time. I literally just finished X of Swords, which is 2 years ago. Maybe that should be my New Year's resolution. Finally fucking catch up on your comic books. LOL, I'm so behind. It's never gonna happen. I would recommend it if you're reading all of this, the reboot stuff. You kind of can't skip it, and there are good things, but it would not. Some big events you can read on their own, and that one I think would just be confusing and stupid. So I don't know. I'm real mixed bag on it. There are things I loved. Everything that Sinister is doing is incredible. I love that fucking drag queen and his cape. All of that A+, but whatever. But I did it. I feel very accomplished. I did it. I listened to The House on the Cerulean Sea, or The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which you highly recommended, and a bunch of people highly recommended. It was on all these lists, and I did really, really like it. But I was telling Erin, I was like, I think this book was too on brand for me, actually. That, like, because it's found family, and it's like a school of magical beings, and it's like a queer romance, and it's like a quirky comedy, and I was like, yeah, this is maybe too on brand. I still really, really enjoyed it. And I think after we talked about it in book club and I pointed out things I liked, I think I would like it. I almost want to get it from the library and read it. Like, the audiobook performance was incredible. So good. The voice choices for all the children were very funny. I like clicked on that narrator and saved some of the other books that he did because I thought he was such a good narrator. And I actually weirdly had a bunch of TJ Klune stuff saved in my like TBR because he's written like a lot of queer supernatural stories. I think most notably he wrote the Wolf Song series, which I'm obviously very into werewolves. So that's you start as a vampire girl, you grow up into a werewolf girl. That's just like how it happened. So I'm going to definitely read more of his stuff and listen to more of the audiobook. But I think almost like talking about it makes me appreciate it in a different light. And I kind of want to read it just to see how it would feel that way. But it is really good. The Antichrist story, very good. That character is great. All of the kids' characterizations, even like there are definitely like 3 kids they really focus on, and then there are 3 kids that are like there, but even the ones that are there do have pretty well fleshed out characters. And yeah, I thought it was really good. But I just didn't like it as much as you did, and I think just because it was too on brand.
I get it. I totally understand.
I read Who Goes There by John W. Campbell Jr., which is the novella that The Thing was based on, or the novella that The Thing from, God. I always want to, I did a whole podcast on this, and I still want to say, like, it came from outer space, but I think The Thing from Another World, and then The Thing, and then The Thing was based on. I hated it.
Oh no.
You'll be able to listen about like my like real feelings about it when you listen to the second episode of Spooky 30s, which definitely will be out by the time this comes out. Me and producer Bobby have a very long conversation about all of the iterations of The Thing, and we get progressively drunker drinking JB's scotch. So it becomes kind of messy near the end, but it was quite fun. True to like Mac form. I loved The Thing, the movie. The book, the novella, it was written in 1938. It's very like old white guy science fiction. There are really good things about it, and I think that the good things about it are really strongly adapted into the movie. But it's not one of those ones where I you really should read the book before you watch the movie or whatever. Like, if you want a completist picture, totally do it. It's really short. It's a novella, but it is not incredible or anything. And then finally, I listened to And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I listened to it specifically because And Then There Were None has a lot of ties and similarities and some inspiration for the movie The Thing, even though technically that book came out the year after Who Goes There was published, but it has a lot of similarities in that, like, we don't know who the bad guy is. We know it's one of you, but, like, we can't figure it out. And so there are a lot of parallels there. I have never read an Agatha Christie book before. As somebody who, like, totally comes on this podcast and just, like, shits on mysteries, like, from top to bottom. Like, I really kind of was speaking out of my ass because, like, I don't actually have that much experience with mysteries. Turns out Agatha Christie fucks. It's really good. Maybe it's just like modern mysteries that blow. It was really good, man. Like, I feel so stupid being like, oh, Agatha Christie, very good, but like super good, really worth it. I did some research, and like this is one of her, like, you know, it's included on like the best ones or whatever. It's really good. And I like, I figured it out, and then I was like, nope, I guess I didn't figure it out. And then by the end, I was like, oh man, I did figure it out, and she totally fucking swerved me, and I love, like, it was so good. And the audiobook performance was really good too. I highly recommend. And it's pretty short. Like, it's really readable. I'm very excited. I did some research, and there was a movie that was made a couple years ago, and I think it's got like the actor that plays Lord, God, I forgot all of Game of Thrones. Just like completely exited my brain when that finale happened, because I was like, this is trash. I'll never think about this again. Goodbye.
Yep.
I need to make room for all the Hannibal memes. He was the Lannister, the old Lannister that dies on the toilet.
Oh yeah.
That guy.
Yes.
I think he's in it, and one of the actors from Torchwood is in it, and it's got a bunch of cool actors in it. So I look forward to like watching the movie. But yeah, I feel like an asshole for never reading an Agatha Christie novel before and then being like, I mean,
I get it. You thought you didn't like mystery. You just didn't understand that she's a pioneer for a reason. Like, totally. She's one of the pillars of mystery. Like, she's fucking great. If you enjoyed reading that, and you're like in a podcasty mood right now, I really recommend the podcast She Done It, which is about old school mystery, and it's all about women specifically mystery, both as like characters in mystery and also like Agatha Christie and like the other like big female pillars of mystery writing. The host, I can't remember her full name. Her first name is Caroline. Yeah. Yes. Is excellent. She has like the perfect British voice for talking about like golden era mystery too. It's very, very good. So I feel like you would be into that. And the episodes are pretty short too.
Yeah, they look like they range from like 9 minutes to like 23 minutes.
Yes, it's really fucking good. And I feel like if you're finding like this is the kind of mystery that I'm more into, you'll get some like really good recommendations too.
Cool. Excited. Definitely want to read more old-timey mysteries and maybe just not modern mysteries.
Dude, you have got to read the Lady Vanishes. If you liked this Agatha Christie, The Lady Vanishes, that I recommended like a dozen times to you, that was written in the 1930s, I think you'll really like it. All right,
I'm putting it on the list right now. Get off my dick. God. By Ethel Lynn White?
Yep.
I love the old-timey names, so works.
Hell yes. It's so good.
I'm in the middle of a million books, so come back next time when I'm like, here's 15 books I read because I had to meet this goal.
Fantastic. Can't wait.
Can't wait. So, what is your rant this week?
My rant is about how I'm fucking pregnant as hell, and so I have
your rant every week.
It's not every week, but I do have a funny story to tell this week, in addition to like why I'm like, oh my god, I'm so pregnant. So a couple of days ago, Michael and I, my husband and I were lying down. We were both working, and we were like, all right, let's take a break, and we'll both like lie down in the bed and just like hang out for a couple of minutes. And he got up and he was like, all right, I'm gonna make us lunch. And I was like, all right, fantastic, I'll just lay here by myself for a minute. And I got stuck. I couldn't get up. I was like laying on top of my pregnancy pillows, and I got like wedged in between them. And I'm so pregnant that I have to like roll in one direction so I can yeet myself in the other direction and get like the momentum going. And I couldn't do that. I was literally fucking stuck, and I didn't have my phone on me. And so I just had to start yelling out, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Michael, I need your help. And he started laughing. He was like, all right, I'm literally cooking right now. I'll come get you in a minute. And so then I just had to lay there stuck in the bed waiting for him to come help me. And I just started laughing. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. And I started laughing so hard I started crying because I was like, I cannot believe this shit. I'm literally stuck. And so once I finally got up, I texted my family group chat and was like, hilarious story, I got stuck. And everybody's response was, thank God he was home. I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. That would have been bad.
Oh,
I'm
no.
stuck. Someone help me.
Just text
so that's my
one of us. Can you come over?
Right.
I'm stuck.
Well, that was I didn't have my phone. I was like literally stuck. Yeah. It was bad. I was just like perfectly wedged in a way, like one of my legs was over the pillow and I just like couldn't get myself to swing back and forth. I was like literally stuck. That's never happened to me before. I was like, oh no. I only have a couple more months left, and I was like, oh, I have to be like actually careful now. So that's my very short rant, is that I'm so pregnant I literally got stuck in my bed. What's your rant?
Okay, this is going to sound crazy. And I feel like I've bitched about this before, but maybe it's just because this fills me with truly a unreasonable amount of rage. Like I was telling Erin earlier, I was like, I'm not joking. My face is like heating up. I get so mad thinking about it. And then when I'm confronted by it in the real world, I just want to take a baseball bat and destroy it. So I don't know if you've been to Walgreens lately, but Walgreens has decided that glass needs to be digitized and needs to be improved because glass for peons, for children, for Neanderthals, glass for the pores, I guess. I don't know. And they've put these digital screens on the coolers so you can't see inside to be like, hey, I want a Gatorade. Oh, I'll just get Gatorade from this one because I can see it with my 2 fucking eyeballs. But instead, you get this, like, digital rendering of, like, here is what's on every single shelf. But then you open it, and it's not fucking stocked at all. Or it's different shit because it's confusing, and these poor Walgreens employees are probably like, man, I used to be able to just, like, throw fucking Gatorade on the shelf, and now I have to, like, correspond it to this fucking thing. And if you're like, oh yeah, that's the rock star I really wanted, and then you open it and you're like, well, I really wanted that rock star, and in my head you showed me a picture of it, so my brain was like, it is available to me, and then I went to get it and it's not available to me. Like, had I just looked through the glass and seen that the rock star that I love was not available, my hopes would not have gotten up. And now I have to deal with this weird disappointment that I don't get my $1.59 fucking energy drink, which is fucking trash. And the not even the worst part, another thing that bothers me, because there's definitely a worse part, another thing that bothers me is sometimes it'll go away because you can't have a digital thing without putting fucking advertisements on it. So sometimes you're like, I'm looking for my weird Starbucks in a can, and I can't find which one it is because I can't look through the glass because now I'm looking at an ad for like $3.99 toilet paper. Like, I don't need toilet paper right now. I need a fucking Starbucks in a can. And I came to Walgreens because normally I could just get it, but now I'm getting bombarded with advertisements that I didn't need. The worst part, though, I think that just makes me insane, furious, is I look at this and I think to myself, why? Why? Who was in a boardroom and was like, you know what we should do? We should upgrade glass. You know what we should do? We should spend a ton of money on a thing that is completely unnecessary. We should invest in it. I'm sure there are other things we could be spending our money on, like paying our employees more, giving them better health insurance, upgrading the stock that we keep on our shelves. No. Let's spend that money to digitize the glass that holds the Gatorade. What? What fucking idiot? You know what I want to pay? A higher electricity bill. I don't want to pay my employees more. No. I want to pay a higher electricity bill. I want the possibility of this breaking down and then becoming an opaque shell that I still can't see through because you can't look through LED. And then I'll have to hire somebody to come fix this because God knows we don't teach our employees how to do this, because then we would have to, like, give them extra training, and we don't want to pay them more. So no, we'll have to bring in an electrician or whatever, pay him money to fix this screen when we could just have fucking glass. Oh my God, that makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. Like, we are hit with advertisements everywhere. Does it really affect the bottom line of their fucking mascara sales if they hit me with an ad for mascara while I'm trying to get fucking pizza rolls? No, it doesn't. It costs them way more money. And I bet I don't know this for sure, but I bet that they had to, some fucking Walgreens exec was like, this is it. And then they had to hire some fucking company to do market research or bullshit. So that's money. And then they had to hire another fucking company to come up with these magic fucking stupid doors. Like, that is an insane amount of money to spend for something that was fundamentally not a problem and did not need to get upgraded, and in fact has created a bunch of problems. It is fucking capitalism in a fucking glass LED screen. And boy, if the purge ever comes, I'm taking my baseball bat and I'm going to every Walgreens I can go to, and I'm just destroying every single LED screen in my, like, vision. Honestly, if I ever have a psychotic break, I might do that anyways, and then be like, I don't know. I didn't kill anybody. I just destroyed this Walgreens. It makes
I also feel like I have gone into those stores and not bought stuff because I'm like, I don't want to deal with this fucking screen. Forget it. I'll just not get anything.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with the, like, what's behind door number 2 because I don't fucking know. Oh man, I'm like sweating. It's truly a thing that it makes me so mad. Like, it makes me so mad. Like, there are a lot of technological upgrades that just, like, didn't need to happen, but I cannot think of one more stupid than that. It is infuriating. God, I hate it. We gotta move on before I just, like, fall into, like, a pit of anger. I really fucking hate it. It makes me not want to go to Walgreens. Because I know other places have it, but, like, almost every Walgreens specifically is doing it. Oh. Man. Whew. What's your rave? So I fanned myself. Full Madeline Kahn over here, man. Fuck.
Flames because of these Walgreens stores.
What's wrong with glass? I feel like fucking Jerry Seinfeld right now.
Oh my god. All right, my rave is real bougie. So Michael and I have been going through this thing the last couple of months where we've been eating like shit. We both have been, like, really bad about ordering a ton of food and not cooking for ourselves, basically. And so a couple of weeks ago, he was like, you know what? I'm done with this. We spend so much fucking money on takeout, like, which is, like, good because we're putting money back into the community and, like, putting it into businesses and whatever. We're pretty good about spending it, like, small restaurants. But we just pay so much money for fucking takeout that we were like, we have got to figure something else out. And so he hired a personal chef, and so now we have someone who cooks our food for us. Yeah, it's... yeah,
oh my god,
it is so fucking bougie. It fucking rules. It's the best. We're spending about the same amount of money that we were spending on takeout on a personal chef. Do they just,
like, meal prep and then drop it off? Like, how does this work?
Yes. Yep, we had, like, it's really close to us. Her kitchen is really close to us. And so we went in and did a tour of the kitchen. We, like, met the chefs that were there. She sent us, like, a survey about, like, what do you actually like? And it was, like, 5 pages long, and it was like, I really like this. I don't like this. Never include X, Y, and Z in my thing. Michael's really picky. And so one of the things that she's doing is, like, all right, I'm going to work with your extraordinarily picky palate, and then I'm also going to put in, like, a challenge dish at least once a week so that you can kind of, like, figure out, oh, I actually do like this. I've just never had the chance to eat this.
Right.
Right, exactly. And, like, part of Michael's thing is he's like, I don't want to spend a bunch of money, cook it myself, discover I don't like it, and then feel like I wasted all of my time and money. And so he was like, well, if she's cooking it for us, like, I feel better about trying to try stuff, basically. And so once a week, she sends us a pre-planned menu that's made specifically for us. It's 5 entrees and 3 side dishes. They're fucking enormous. We got, like, 8.5 meals out of all of it together. But it's also nice because we're, like, menu planning now. We get it delivered on a Thursday. We plan out our entire week up until our next delivery. We have one day on Wednesdays when we're watching Dynamite where we're like, this will be our takeout night. That way we can like still get takeout every once in a while. But it's nice. I feel like we're cooking together more now because we have to like, everything is basically prepared. We just have to like put it in the oven. And it's been really nice. And we were also like, this will be so helpful when we're on maternity and paternity leave and like don't want to fucking do anything and don't want to think past like turn the oven on basically. And so we are prepping ourselves for in 2.5 months when we're gonna have like no brain power whatsoever. And so yeah, we have just turned into bougie dickholes who have a personal chef who makes our food for us.
Okay, in your defense, you are definitely bougie dickholes, but it is a local business. It's a female-owned business. It is not totally dissimilar from doing something like a Blue Apron or whatever. Or there's like companies like I used to do, there's a restaurant in Chicago that I love called First Slice. And they essentially did that where they would make the whole thing. You would go pick it up 3 meals a week. And then it wasn't like a meal prep thing where they give you all the ingredients and you do it. Like, no, they make it, they freeze it, and then you just pop it in the fucking oven. So it's not totally different from that, but it is very funny that you have to say I have a personal chef, and that is delightful.
I know. I know. Because we've tried meal service stuff before, and like that has been our problem, where we get all the stuff and then we get it and we're like, I don't want to make this. Yeah. I don't want to like actually take an hour and a half to prepare dinner. Like, I'm not interested in that. And then if we don't like it, it's like, it's not just the money that we paid for this stuff. It's that we then put the time into it. And it was like, I don't even like this. And the nice thing about this too is that she's really good about feedback. And so we can be like, I really loved this. I'd like this to be like included more often. Or we can be like, I didn't actually like this. She's like, cool, I'll totally strike this. You'll never see this dish again. So I feel like that's easier than trying to do like a HelloFresh where they're like, here's what you're getting, basically. Yeah. And so, yeah, we're again, bougie dickholes. That's just who we are right now. But it's been pretty great.
That is very funny to me.
And like, I feel like, I mean, you know us very well. We're not really bougie dickholes about like
me and Nick are way bougier and way bigger dicks than you guys. But Nick likes to cook, so we get like a Blue Apron, and then we cut out the like. Because I hate to meal plan. I like grocery shopping, but I like, you know, I just know what we get and like very simple things. But like actual meals, I hate meal planning. So like we essentially pay for somebody to do meal planning and then Nick gets to cook, which he likes to do. So like that works out for us. But on days when he's like, can you cook it? I throw childlike temper tantrums. I'll do it, but I fucking hate it.
Yep. Yeah, it's we experienced similar things.
That is very funny though.
Yeah, it's nice. Yep, it's nice. And like
personal chef.
It's our personal chef. And like the nice thing too is we don't have to spend as much money on grocery shopping either. And so it's like we're taking away the expense of having to buy a ton of takeout, and also we're cutting our grocery bill in like half basically, which is really nice. Interesting. So yeah, that's my bougie ass rave for the week. What's your rave?
Me and Nick the other night. So my husband really likes rom-coms. Actually may have bullied him into a let's read romance novels together next year, so we'll see. TBD on that. We've had like mini like book clubs where like we read like half of Shakespeare canon one year and like talked about it and stuff, and I was like, well, you like rom-com movies, we should definitely read romance novels. So TBD on whether he likes to read romance novels. But we were searching for something to watch and I was like, oh, we should watch that new gay rom-com. It's supposed to be really, really good. It's like showing up on my feed all the time because obviously like that's my brand. It's called Single All the Way. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix rom-com, and it is just a beautiful trope fest. It is the best. It's like it's almost fake dating, and then it's like Christmas and they go back home and it's like roommates to lovers, and oh man, it's really, really good. And it's gay. It follows Michael Urie of Ugly Betty fame, and then I don't know the actor who plays Nick, but he was really good. And then the guy that plays James this feels so shitty, but it's Wentworth Miller's boyfriend. I was like, hey, that guy. And then it's got such a stellar cast. Like Michael Urie's parents are played by Kathy Najimy and Barry Boswick, who are the fucking cutest couple together. One of his sisters is played by the mayor's wife from Schitt's Creek. She's very funny in it. And Michael Urie's aunt is Jennifer Coolidge. It's a
nice.
very fun movie. And unlike, I think it was last year when the big lesbian Christmas movie came out, and a lot of the feedback was like, can't we just get a movie where it's not about like homophobia or a coming out story or like hiding your identity, like all that stuff. This movie, none of that. There's not a fucking ounce of homophobia. There's not an ounce of like, I'm afraid my family won't accept me. Other than like Michael Urie's whole thing is like, my family just harps on me for being single all the time, and I'm just tired of like disappointing them by being single, which is a very like common like rom-com trope. It's a really loving family and a loving environment, and like the nieces are really trying to like play matchmaker with Nick, and I'm totally blanking on Michael Urie's character. But it was just really good. Like, it's not it's not going to win Oscars or whatever, but for a rom-com, which sometimes can be just like insufferable, especially a Christmas rom-com, it's great. And then for a queer romance story, fantastic. Like, if you just want to have a fun Christmas romp, go for it. Nobody's an asshole. Even the assholes aren't really assholes. Like, it's just great. I loved it a lot. It's got the trope of delightful. Like going back home, leaving the big city and going back home. Like, it's got a bunch of good tropes, and it uses them in a good way and subverts them. Some of them subverts them here and there. And also, like, Michael Urie's like 40 years old. And like, I like Michael Urie a lot, but he's not like hot or like traditionally like, you know, ruggedly handsome. So it's like nice too to see like there's in the movie, he is like he works for like an ad agency or something, and in the beginning they're doing this like Christmas like sexy Instagram models like photo shoot for shaving cream or whatever, and then halfway through the movie his boss is like, no, I really want something more with like real people. So he uses like his roommate and himself and like this other guy, and like, yeah, like these are real people. It doesn't feel like super like unbelievable that like, you know, it was just nice. It was just heartwarming and nice, and like it's a great Christmas movie, not only because it's set at Christmas, but because it's genuinely heartwarming. Like, me and Nick were like fucking tearing up at the end. And I looked over, I was like, are you crying? And he was like, no. I was like, this movie's so fucking cute.
Oh.
And, you know, to be honest, like, I can't remember the name of it, but I did enjoy a lot of parts of that fraught lesbian Christmas movie. There were some really good parts about it, but it did suck that it's like, why does every story we tell have to be this like coming of out, like challenging, like what do I do thing? And like, obviously that still happens, and it's a big part of the queer experience, but it was just nice to watch people being happy and falling in love, and it was very cute.
Oh, that's nice.
And I highly recommend it.
I like that.
Got any questions, pal?
Actually, my questions are being used to structurally support my fort, so...
You got any questions off the top of your head, Erin?
I don't know.
Me neither.
No. I'm in this hot cave. I don't know.
Here, let me, real quick. I'm just gonna Google would you rather, and I'm gonna say the top one that comes up. 250 best would you rather questions for a good game night.
Fantastic.
I'm just gonna scroll down really quick. Actually, give me a number. 1 through 250, I guess.
78.
All right. Would you rather spend a year entirely alone or a year without a home? This is
alone.
Yeah, alone. And also that's kind of a shitty question.
Yeah, that's a really easy question.
It's a really easy question, and like a really shitty question, and like it's like, hey, we're a fun like internet thing, and we don't care about like unhomed people, and isn't this a fun question? Like, fuck you, parade.com.
No, that's not a good one. We gotta pick another one.
All right, I kind of don't want. Okay, I'm gonna choose one. Let's do 178. You know what? Fuck this. Would you rather give up coffee or soda forever? Soda.
Soda, 100%. Again, very easy.
This is the worst. Only you are good at writing questions. And Jolene, I guess.
It's true.
Would you rather go on a cruise with your boss or never go on a vacation again? A cruise with my boss.
God. Yeah, I like my boss, so definitely a cruise with my boss.
want to go on a cruise with the cage side office.
Oh my God.
Let's do a Jera cruise with the cage side office.
Oh my God.
It actually could be very fun. We get along very well, actually. So
it would be a nightmare, but for everyone else on the boat, not for you guys.
That would be a wild ride. I choose that.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Parade.com sucks, so don't go there, I guess.
No, that's not good. It was a valiant effort. I'm glad we did 3 and we're like, these were all very easy.
These were all very easy. Okay, so we need more questions. So
yes.
Please, if you're in the middle of the night and you wake up from a nightmare and you're like, I have a perfect question, just shoot us an email. And
yes, absolutely.
We'll compile. We need a new stack anyways. That should be our New Year's, not resolution, our New Year's next year.
Goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
In 2022, which is only a couple weeks away.
Jesus.
Whee! We'll have new questions because I don't want to hear Erin be like, would you rather eat a Rice Krispie full of sperm or sawdust ever again? Because she's definitely asked me that.
The question is, how much sawdust could you fit in a Rice Krispie before people notice? And the answer is a lot.
I don't know where the sperm came from.
I don't either. I think you're telling on yourself there, bud.
I've never made Rice Krispie treats with sperm.
Fair enough.
So
ridiculous.
That's it. Yes, that's a podcast.
That's it. Yeah, if you want to send us questions, which you should, please send us questions so we can put them in our new stack. You can do that at notyourdemo@gmail.com. You can also send us Peg, Mary, Kills and book recommendations. We'll have a list of our top books of the year coming out, which will be on our Discord. And if you have suggestions for that or things that you thought were particularly good that you read this year, send them to our email. That would be great.
You can, our Discord that you can get access to at patreon.com/NYD Productions, which you can get access to for only $1.
Correct. And there's all kinds of stuff up on there as well, including additional podcasts and also like behind the scenes notes and outtakes and things like that. Our Discord's popping. And you can come into our wrestling chat where we just talk about Jamie Hayter's ass every week. I mean, it's incredible.
Hey, it's either we talk about it on the Discord or we talk about it on Twitter. And we can only be so thirsty on Nate. You can follow us on the internet at NYD Productions on Twitter and NYD Productions on Instagram and use the hashtag #NotYourDemoPod to interact with this podcast specifically. And you can follow me at Stella_Cheeks.
You can follow me at NYDUrgency on Instagram, not on Twitter. Sorry, you can't follow my Twitter.
And that's it. That's a pod.
That's it. That's the whole thing. All right. Well, will the next one be in the new year?
No, we'll have one more this year.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. Well, that's it, everybody. Mark out.
Okay, fuck off. I was like, did she forget our
No, I'm just really hot. I've got to get out of this blanket.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye.